Cool, guys. So welcome to, if you like, the official, unofficial start of Awaken Your Potential. This is our brand new 3-day online experience to help guys elevate the way that they show up in their life, right? In their health, in their career, in their relationships, in their personal development. And this is a bonus class here to set the scene before we start the course. And it's amazing to see so many people with us watching and being a part of this process. Okay, so let's go through what we're going to be covering tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about changing the narrative and the story that we tell ourselves so that we can allow ourselves to be the guy that we want to be, so that we can change the habits, the behaviors, the decisions that we make that projectile us through life and achieve the things that we want to achieve. Okay, and it might look really busy on this board behind me, but by the time I finished here, you're going to have a really, really good understanding about the stories that you tell yourself and how they affect you reaching your potential. Okay, so for those that are not 100% sure of who I am, my name is James Bourman. I'm a former Royal Marine Commando. I've been working with men for a very long time, specifically with the elite movement for the last 4 years. I've written 2 best-selling books, which is Remember the Mission, which the majority of you should have read or have a copy of, free copy of in the PDF. And the other is It's a State of Mind. It's my mission, my purpose to reach my potential by leading all of you guys, like high-performing guys, high-performing family men, business owners, driven professionals, to succeed in life again, okay? To get themselves out of that rut, raise the standards, change the way that you're showing up in terms of the discipline levels, in terms of having structure, in terms of having routine, in terms of having systems, and driving that forwards to, if you like, rekindle, find that flame and drive on forwards and reach your potential. Okay, so we're going to go through the story and the map. Don't worry about the screenshots. I'll make sure that you get a copy of this for some of you that are watching here. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the journey of the Awaken Your Potential. I want to take you through what we're going to be going through, how it's going to look, so that you have clear clarity about the journey that I'm going to take you on and the things that you're going to experience as we go through. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is tonight. Number 1, this is where your journey starts. Number 1, we are going to, we're going to change the narrative, or we're certainly going to understand and have more self-awareness about how our story is affecting the way that we show up. Okay. Number 2, in a couple of days, we are going to introduce officially what we're going to be covering in the 3 days. Okay. All of this will be thrown at you through your emails. So make sure you're checking your emails all of the time for updates. Okay. Number 3, we're going to go into the first official coaching session of the Awaken Your Potential, and we're going to talk about how we build the fundamentals, how we fortify our mind, how we change the way that we show up with 6 key principles of showing up. These 6 key principles are the standard that we have set for the majority of men who are working with us at lots of different levels. Okay, these are the fundamentals that you are going to use to change the way that you show up. Okay, then we're going to do the next day. Okay, we're going to look at the world-class SRS, which is structure, routines, and systems. I'm going to teach you structures, routines, and systems that are going to elevate you so that you are at least reaching the top 5% of high performers right across the board in the world. Okay, and if you follow these are the things that makes the difference between somebody winning a gold medal in an Olympics and somebody coming in the middle of the pack. So that's the difference between someone really taking ownership of their life and fulfilling their life and getting their absolute potential out of their life, and somebody who's just drifting through life. Okay, so we're going to show you some of those key structures, routines, and systems. Then the next day, we're going to look at what's the world-class approach to focus, time, energy, and focus. We're going to look at time management sketches. We're going to look at growth mentality. We're going to look at self-mastery, so that when you go away here, you understand what's required to be that gold medalist, right? Not someone who's in the middle, not someone who's happy just to take part, but somebody who's going to really take ownership of the way that they show up in their life. Okay. Then on the Thursday, for those people that have opted in, we have a VIP session, which is create the roadmap. Now that's a different type of process. And to do this one, this is a paid coaching session. So that will mean that we will have a face-to-face. It won't be like this webinar. It will be a face-to-face coaching session for about 90 minutes. Now, if you don't have the details to that, and the details should be in your emails, you would have got an email about the VIP. All right. There's only about 6 places for me to be able to go on. And then as we get to the very end of this, there is an opportunity for you to continue with us, okay? But I won't be talking about that for a very long time until we're down this end here, okay? You need to be able to prove to me that you can actually follow something to get to this stage, because we don't just let anybody into the Elite Brotherhood. We make sure that they are willing to show up and meet all of the standards, to show up, to commit, and put themselves first, okay? So it's a two-way thing. So my aim, my promise, over these coming days of your training is to take you from Mr. Average, somebody that's showing up at a mediocre level, someone who's not reaching the standard that they want to, someone who's not reaching their potential, and take you on this journey to become the elite operator that we're trying to create men to be, okay? And I've written here, I want you to make more breakthroughs in this time frame than the last 3 months. So through this journey, I want you to have more breakthroughs, more epiphanies, more aha moments, more surges to want to live a better life, okay, than you've ever had. And certainly in the last 3 months, okay. Still here. First technical issue, but we're back, okay. So we're going to go into this, okay. Does it make sense to everybody so far? Are you there? Are you with us? Are you always in the fight? Okay. Good. So let's get on with this. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the one thing that stops the majority of men reaching their potential, and reaching their potential as a father, reaching their potential as a husband or a partner, reaching their potential within their career or their business, reaching their potential in how they look, how they think, how they feel, is the story that they tell themselves, okay? They've built up this story, they build up this narrative, and that narrative continues and goes around with them all of the time. It is constantly with you all of the time. So a couple of things that we talk about when we talk about story, what do I mean by that, okay? So inside of your mind, when you're thinking about things, or when you're overthinking things, or when you're trying to make a decision, or when you're trying to change, you will go through a set of scenarios in terms of conversations with yourself inside of your own head. Okay, we all do it, okay? Even me on the mornings, right? And we convince ourselves that we can't achieve things because we have statements like, I can't. So we start something, I can't change my job because I'm too committed in this job. I don't know where to start. I can't go to the gym because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay? I can't improve my relationship because I don't know how to. And straight away, we always start with a negative, I can't. So if you think about many of the things that you tell yourself, we often start with, I can't, and it's straight away a negative. Okay, another one is, I'm not good enough. Okay, I've been in this position for so long, I'm not good enough to change. Okay? Negative. Okay, it never works for me. I've done loads of programs, but they never work for me. The programs never work. And actually, really, you're just making that excuse because you're the issue, not the program. Okay, I'm too busy. Okay, I've had it too hard. Okay? We've all had it hard. My childhood wasn't what it wanted it to be. My dad didn't show me enough attention. My mum never encouraged me enough. Okay, I was never back to school. No one ever believed in me. No one ever liked. Like, you build up this story that you tell yourself, and what it ends up becoming is the anchor that stops you from elevating your potential. So the ceiling comes right down, it's above your head. And this is how much you think you can progress. And it's that story that stops you and breaks you through, right? So when we get into that story and we go through all of these conversations in our head and we go, I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I can really relate to that all of the time. Because that was the thing that stopped me all of the time. Okay. When I think about joining the military, I could never join the military. Okay? I'm not fit enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is what I want to do. But everything was self-chat. And then when I left the military, my story was I felt sorry for myself because I was lost. I felt sorry for myself because I messed up my marriage. I felt sorry for myself because I was drinking too much. I felt sorry for myself because I put on about 2 stone. Okay, I felt sorry for myself because things weren't going the way I wanted to do it. So like it just incorporates that negative mentality. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So some of you might watching this now might go, I resonate with that. Like that's where I am, right? And people swim in this narrative. And instead of going, let's go, we find a reason not to. Even coming into this awaken your potential, you would have nearly found an excuse not to do it. I'm too busy. Oh, it never works. Oh, I'm never getting around to it. Oh, yada, 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 blah, 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 right? So when that happens, it comes in here, and guess what it destroys? It destroys your self-belief. Okay? It's not feeding self-belief. It's not feeding that you can go out there and you can get that promotion in your job. It's not feeding that you can take your business to the next level. The narrative's not feeding the process to go to the gym, smash the gym every single day, or go and get that run. It's not feeding the need to actually get off your phone, get off social media, get off your laptop and be present for your kid, okay? Or support your wife or love your wife and let her know that she's the most important person on the planet, right? Because we're just in that story and our self-belief is dead. And when our self-belief is dead, we're hollow. There's this huge hollowness inside of us, in our side of our brain. And it stops us progressing the way that we want to progress because you don't have the key ingredient to reach your potential, which is self-belief. There is this disconnect between what you want out of life, and you might not even know what you want, but it's probably some level of ambition, some level of connection, some level of direction. But we're not firing on those, we're not triggering those cylinders, that fire, because there is no spark, because there is no belief, because you keep telling yourself you can't do it, right? Then that kills your confidence, okay? I bet when you have a conversation with people, you try not to make eye contact. You're probably self-conscious about what you're wearing. You're probably self-conscious when you go to the swimming pool because you take your top off and you're going swimming and you feel slightly embarrassed or ashamed that you're out of shape slightly, and then you can see the dude walking in who obviously is training all the time and you feel like, why am I not that guy? You walk through a front door to the office or to your business office or to a meeting and you put your head down and try and hide because you don't want to be noticed because you think you're going to get found out, you think you're going to be an imposter, right? And you challenge yourself in that. Okay, these things make sense, right? They're like triggers. One trigger ignites another trigger, ignites another trigger. So when we're trying to figure out why we're not the potential that we want, why we're not at that potential, why we're not reaching that level, these are the things that are happening in the background that you might not be aware of. Okay? So the byproduct of your negative story then leads to destroying your self-belief, which then kills your confidence, which then affects 3 key areas. And these 3 key areas are hugely important in terms of our personal and professional development. Okay, it affects your emotions, which then affect your your behaviors, which then affect your actions. So again, it becomes a trigger. All those things then go, right, your emotions dictate the behaviors. So when you are low on emotions, you then start drinking, you then become snappy, you then just go, I'm just going to make excuses why I'm not going to go to the gym. You're then not showing up in your job. You're then not doing anything about the job that you're stuck in and you're kind of unhappy in. You're then trying to grow your business, but you can't grow your business because your emotions are so low. You feel sorry for yourself because it hasn't been going in your way. So your behavior is, it's easy if I just don't show up. And that's what's leading to all of these actions. Drink. Well, it's here, look. Down here, it leads to no action. Okay, it leads to no potential. It leads to no clarity, no growth. But it doesn't just affect you. Who else does it affect? So in your mind right now, while you're listening to this, I want you to start thinking about, like, who is this affecting? This is not just a story about you. This is a story about your family. This is a story about your friends. This is a story about your career, your peers, the people that you're supporting, the people that mean the most to you, right? So when we're trying to show up and lead you to lead them, okay, what we're really doing is just burying our head in the sand and just knowing that we're not showing up. So just pretending it's not happening and not doing anything about it. And these are really hard truths. And you're probably thinking, oh, Jesus, just punching me in the face one after the other. But if you are ever going to change, you have to confront this. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? You have to confront the reality of the situation that you're in. There is no two ways about it. And there will be thousands, hundreds of thousands of men that will go through life and never confront it. And they will die exactly the way that they are right now, showing up at average, showing up at mediocre, never creating that legacy, never being the role model, never achieving that potential. And all of that potential as you go through life and you get to the end will just be sitting there as a missed opportunity. Make sense to everyone? Okay, so if you're watching this, like even if you're watching live or you're watching back, make sure you stick some of these things in the comments, okay? Because it's important for you to engage with this process and you engage in the things that you're thinking so that you can come back to it and go, yeah, this is making total sense to me, okay? And then there was this whole cycle. There is this whole cycle, right, where we just keep going round in circles. We're never solving the problems because you don't know how to. So for a lot of you, you're like, well, yeah, that's like, I know that this has happened, but where do we go from here? How do we deal with this? Okay, how do we deal with this? And it's like this little dude here running on a treadmill, the hamster wheel of doom, the Groundhog Day, the chaos, the cycle of chaos, right? It's going round and round. Okay, so let's look at the good stuff. Let's look at how we're going to get out of that, right? Everyone up for that? So let's look at how we move forwards. Okay. So imagine, in fact, I'll tell you a story. So the last 2 days I've just spent with 7 guys who are in my top 1% club. Now, my top 1% club is my one-to-one. Before you think I'm pitching, I'm not. I'm just explaining so you understand. Okay. My top 1% club is the very highest level of coaching that I deliver to business owners and senior leaders. Okay. And what we do is we go away in Europe somewhere or somewhere around the world for 4 days and we delve into self, personal and professional development. Okay, so that we can elevate ourselves to be in the top 1%. Okay, so if you think about this pyramid, at the very top of the pyramid, the top 1% of people and the way that they show up achieve the success that they want. They build the structures, the routines, and the systems. They manage their time, their energy, and their focus. Okay, and they're reaching their potential because they are going above and beyond anyone else at a completely different level. And we just spent 2 days doing that, 2 9-hour sessions, deep diving into everything. And this is where those guys are working on themselves on a monumental level. And then we've got guys who are working in the elite brotherhood who are not working that in depth with me, but they are on their journey. And they're on that journey where they're going through and self-discovering as they go. Okay, so they've got all of the content to watch. They've got the accountability. They've got their mindset. They've got their journey. They've got their mission. They've got their direction. They're finding their motivation. But it's like a wave. Okay, so we've got ups and we've got downs. But what we're slowly doing, that wave is constantly going up like 1% a day, every single day. What I mean by that is that the level of standards, the level of discipline, the level of results, and level of outcomes are slowly creeping up every single day because they're working on themselves. And what's slowly happening is that they are creating the front door, okay, to opportunity. So the front door to opportunity is when you raise your self-awareness. So what I've just done with you in the last 20 minutes is raise your self-awareness about what's happening in the background. Okay. And that's what we do with a lot of guys when we work with them. So we do 2 focus sessions a month. We go in there and we raise the self-awareness level. So when they're working on themselves, when they're doing their morning routines, when they're doing their evening routines, when they're doing their weekly planning, what they are doing is slowly unraveling the mind, which we'll talk more about on Monday, that unraveling their mindset to understand the story that they're telling themselves. And the way that we change the story is we catch the story. Okay, we catch the story. You can't catch the story if you're not working on yourself. If you're just going through watching YouTube videos, if you're going through watching social media, if you're going through reading self-help books, you're absorbing, but you're not actioning. Okay, nothing is ever going to change unless you start taking action. And I can promise you that now. I've been doing this a long time, been around the bush, and a lot of times I've spoken to a lot of guys. The way that we change that story to being more positive is we catch the negatives and we flip it. Like a light switch, flicking it on, okay? Boom, as soon as it's flipped on, man, I caught myself being negative there. I'm not having that. This is what we're going to do. Let's go for it, okay? And then all of a sudden, people are building, okay? So we look here, we're increasing their self-belief through the process. So through that process, they're starting to believe that they are good enough. They're starting to believe that this system can work for them. Starting to realize that it is hard work. Starting to see that actually failures are wins. So that self-belief starts picking up. So when we have a little bit of self-belief belief in the tank, the story and the narrative starts changing. I could do that. Maybe I can sign up for a half a marathon. Maybe I can do a 50-miler. Maybe I can lose 2 stone. Maybe I can build a business. You know, maybe I can get promoted. And all of a sudden, we start to raise that standard. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can almost visualize it. As you go on your journey, you become more confident and the process becomes more understandable. So then we leave here and we develop newfound confidence, okay, in our own ability, something that you might not have had because of childhood, because you've been told that you're rubbish, because you've been put down. But that's your story that we're trying to overcome, right? That's not the you anymore. We're not going to allow that to dictate the future. We're going to start taking the future in our own hands and we're going to start creating our own future. Okay, we're going to start creating our own future. So we're going to get on a process. We're going to increase the self-belief. We go through the process. We're going to develop the newfound confidence, and this impacts emotions, behaviors, and actions. Okay. So how do we think it impacts emotions, behavior, and actions? Well, the result is more action, more results, more development, more growth, happier life, more purpose, more fulfillment, more potential, more recognition that, man, the life that I may be living that's unhappy since COVID, or for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, for the last 20 years, doesn't have to be the way I have to live the rest of my life. Boom. And more clarity, okay? Going round in circles and going, where the fuck is my life going? Do you know what I mean? Where's my life going? What am I doing with myself? Why am I drinking all the time? Why am I just eating fatty food? Why am I being a dick to my wife? Why am I sitting in my room and my kid's playing with the bricks and wants me to play with them and I'm just looking at TikTok? You know what I mean? And then more growth. So more of this leads to more happiness, more potential, more of what you want out of life. I hope. That's why I hope that you are spending your evening here with me, so that you can understand, actually, I want more action, I want more potential, I want more clarity, I want more growth, I want to be closer to my wife. And then we think about, how does this affect other people? Man, can you imagine being your knight in shining armor to your wife again? She needs to know and feel appreciated. She needs to be supported. She needs to be loved. Okay? How many times do you buy flowers? How many times do you say she looks nice? How many times do you ask how she's doing? How many times do you think about her? How many times do your kids run up to you when you open the door and go, Daddy? How close are you to your kids if they're older? How often do they want to come around and see you? Do you know what I mean? The pure sign of a successful life is when your kids are 18, 19, 20, 21 and onwards, and all they want to do is come back and see you. Because they want to be around you. You want to be the role model. You okay? You want to be their superhero. You want to be the knight in shining armor to your wife again. You want to reconnect with her. She's desperate to get her husband back. Most of you probably would have seen the message that I put up on the information page, and it said, "My wife told me I've got my husband back. Thank you so much," right? That's one of the most powerful messages I've ever received. Incredible. So you can see by going through a process, we are trigger, and things start happening. Okay. And this is not just for like 2 weeks or 6 months. This is lifestyle change. And this takes effort. This takes time. This takes being relentless. This takes taking the wins and the losses. This is a battleground. And you've got to be ready to show up as the elite operator, or you can go and live your average life with Mr. Average, and you can go through this pain here. It's two simple choices, right? It's two simple choices. Now I'm going to show you kind of like what we need to have a process. And these are 3 key things that I think stand out in terms of you reaching your absolute potential, okay? And I think that without these, it becomes really difficult. Okay? You can ask anybody that's ever left our programs and come back, and one of them has gone, okay? If you like, they are 3 pillars. So the first one is education. The second one is community, and the third one is accountability. So on Instagram today, I posted a video, and I said the reason that men struggle mentally and emotionally and somewhat physically is because they do not understand or have the education or knowledge of how to change that situation. So if it was the first day of your job tomorrow, and they brought you into the office and they said, "Johnny, this is the office. That's your seat over there. Good luck." And then they told you nothing else. Like, no roles and responsibility. This is where the printer is. This is where the toilet is. This is when you start. This is when you finish, right? You'd be like, where do I even, like, what am I even supposed to be doing, right? That's where most men are in life when it comes to dealing with problems, making decisions, understanding pressure, finding identity, communicating and understanding with the wife, getting the balance right, having time at like all these things that we're trying to achieve. People don't have the understanding or the knowledge. So if you are honest with yourself, how much time in the last, let's say, year and a half, how much time have you spent working on yourself? And I don't mean watching videos and reading self-help books. I mean putting in the action and the work, okay? And I know some of my members are here are getting a refresh, so you guys don't really count because I know you're doing the work, okay? But in practically, so I'm talking about how much time practically do you go, I'm going to practice my morning routine. I'm going to build this morning routine. I'm going to learn and build how to plan my time, my energy and focus for the week. So I know what I'm doing on each day. I know what time I'm going to be finishing. I know what tasks I need to be doing. Okay, here's my top 2 wins of the day. Here's what I could have improved on. You know what I mean? So it's like, how much time do you do? How much energy are you putting into yourself? Okay. We become the byproduct of that time and energy. How much have you spent on coaching, mentoring, or finding someone to be able to help you? Okay, in terms of developing yourself, in terms of kicking your backside when you're not showing up, in terms of encouraging you, in terms of leading you. And I've been doing this for like 5 years. Not many people have done it. Okay, not many people, but we're paying for other things, right? And that's a completely different story. We're happy to like get the takeaways or spend the money on the booze. But we don't stop and go, who can help me? What can help me? What can I do? Do you know what I mean? I learned how to run a business on YouTube in 2013. My back was against the wall. I was literally broke. I was literally eating Tesco value baked beans. Shopping was like £20 a week because that's all I could afford. And I had to figure out how to build a business on YouTube. I spent 6 hours a day on it for 1 year, following everybody and how to do it, and then action in it. Okay, not just going, oh, this is what you do, great, I've got that in my head, I'll do that later. Like, I needed to action that day, else I would have lost my house. Okay, so you've got to ask yourself, how much are you willing to change the way that you're showing up now? And this is not just for people that are like, this is not about people being in a bad state. This is about not being the person that you want to be, not having a sharp sword, not reaching your potential, right? It's not about how do I get out of the gutter, because you might not be in the gutter. You might have a great wife, a great life, You might have a good career, but something's missing. What are you doing for you? How do I elevate myself to get to the next level? Everybody's at a different stage. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is get to the next level of wherever we're at now. And even at the highest level, we had a guy who is almost, he's a director and almost a partner of a very senior company. He is running himself. He's been working with me for 3 months. We have sharpened his structures and routines and systems to make them world class, but he still needs to fill in the cracks and the gaps. So although he's very accomplished, there's still work to do. Okay, there's still work to do. It never ends. It never stops. Okay, so when we look here, how much investment of time, energy, and money? Okay, what are you learning? What do you need to learn? Okay, what's the process? When you're not in a process, so I always, if you visualize this, you know, in America, a lot of the time they have these storm drains, and they're huge storm drains. So when there's water overflow, the water goes in and it floods straight out to sea, right? So I look at that as having a process. When you're in there, you're in this process because you're in this funnel. And that's kind of like how I visualize it. When you're not, you're in a maze. And that maze is life. And you're like, do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go backwards? And you're kind of trying to figure out, does that make sense? You're trying to figure out where you're going. But when you're in a process, you just go, I can see where I'm going. I know where I need to go. I know what I need to do. These are the steps. Here's step 1. So this is a process. Here, perfect example of a process. Okay. Your personal development in your journey. It's about being on a journey. It's like getting your backpack on and going, this is me for the rest of my life. No more drinking. Going to lose the mates that I'm around who are always trying to get me down the pub and always challenging me. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to find a new job. I'm going to step up as a husband. Okay. North Star is absolutely right. And then the second thing we need, we're doing good for time, guys. So the second thing we need is a community, okay? Is a community. I meet very few people that reach the standard that they want to by themselves. Because why? We take the easy road, right? We take the easy road. Okay, when it's been a hard day, we say, oh, it's okay, I deserve a lie-in. And then one bad thing then leads to the next bad thing, and then what's that next bad thing leads to the next bad thing. And instead of going 1% up, we go 1% down. And when we go down, that momentum, and then we end up imploding at the bottom, right? So what a community gives you is inspiration. The people whenever I'm asked who inspires me the most, it's my clients, because they overcome all of the bullshit that they tell themselves and they still show up. Some don't, and I can't do anything about that. Okay. Unless I go and live with those people, they have to meet me halfway. One of the rules to working with me is you meet me halfway. I'll provide the training. I'll do the accountability. We will check in on you. I'll be there Monday to Friday if you need to drop me a message, and I will meet you halfway, but you have to come meet me. Okay. I'm not like, if you ever watched Hitch and you do the kissing scene, right? If you don't go all in on the kiss and go 90, I'm going 50. You come meet me halfway. Okay, support. Okay, community support, whether it's a coach, whether it's other people who've been through what you've been through, like-minded people. People have gone through what you've gone through because we've gone through the process. You might have Johnny Bravo here, who's that process, he's at chapter 7, but then you might have Sandy, I don't even know where that name comes from. You've got Sandy, who's at chapter 2. So my man here has gone through this whole process. So when he suddenly says, oh, hands up, I'm struggling, this is what I'm struggling with, my man here will go, I was there exactly the same. I've gone through exactly what you're going through. Trust the process. This is what's going to happen. And you suddenly get that support and encouragement and direction, right? And that's what we do. And that's what I try and encourage in the brotherhood. Like, hopefully most of you are in the brotherhood and you're kind of seeing what's happening in there, okay? And you're kind of seeing the accountability. And you should be involved, guys. I've put you in there to be involved, to start doing your morning counting. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to do it properly. Should be involved in it, right? You should have pictures on your profile. You should be like setting yourself up. If you're going to do it, let's do it properly, right? Safe environment so you can open up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really struggling with my career. Like, I really hate my career. I've got no one else to talk about it. No one understands me. Has anyone been there? Yeah, boom, stick it out. It's not a social media platform. It's a private group with like-minded people in there, right? And then the stories of success, stories of failure, stories of epiphanies, stories of rising from the gutter, from the trenches, right? It's about, wow, that story's inspired me to get up and get after it, right? Celebrating wins, 100%. Okay, so that's number 2. And then number 3 is accountability, the key. Okay, the key. Okay, self-discipline. You having your own self-discipline to show up, right? That's what it's about. Okay, it's so important to have this self-discipline. Okay, I boot up the backside. Okay, like, I'm pretty blunt, but I think sometimes people misunderstand that as being unsympathetic, and I'm very sympathetic. I just don't really tolerate bullshit, right? Because I'm here to work. And that's why I encourage people to come into work. That's why I don't let people into my community anymore that are going to waste my time or waste their time or waste my members' time. I would rather have an army of guys who want to show up, who want to put it on the line, who are going to put the blood, sweat, and tears in, that want to be a better husband, right? So, like, that is important. And I'm straight, like, if people message me, I'm like, they know the answer, they just need that encouragement. Okay? Direction and reflection as well. So these things all kind of counter. All right, does that make sense to everybody? So I wanted to present this bonus presentation because I wanted you all to understand what's going on in your head before we get into the real good stuff next week. Okay, when you get in a couple of days' time, we're going to start putting out the introduction about what the 3 modules are going to be, okay, over the 3 days. I'm going to dive into a little bit about why we're doing what, so that you understand the theory, so that you understand the purpose, and you understand the promise that I'm trying to get across to you. 3 days is 3 days, okay? I can only teach you so much in that 3 days. If you're in the Elite Brotherhood, then make the most of it, okay? Everybody will have access to it for a certain period of time. And once that period is finished, then that profile will be closed down if you decide you want to go to step 7 in the process. Okay. So that's it for now. The next step is going to be the introduction. Okay, and the introduction, I'm going to go through a little bit more detail. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about me, what I've been through, and the experiences that I've had that have allowed me to be able to teach this, why I'm so passionate about teaching this. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how people have used this system to go on and change the way that they live their lives, so that you can see the system works. I want you to believe in it. I want you to commit to it. 1 hour of your day, and I've purposely done them at 8 o'clock at night. I used to do all my sessions at 7, but I've moved them right because I wanted to make sure that you got all your kids down. I wanted to make sure that you had this time to develop and spend on you, because it might be different. It might be something you've not ever done. Okay, but all I'm asking you to do is give me 3 1-hour sessions. Okay, so that you can change the way that you show up, so that you can save your marriage, so that you can upscale your marriage, so that your wife can send me an email and go, thank you for having my husband back, right? And it makes a huge difference. Okay, believe it or not, it is actually my bedtime. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you on the intro, okay, and being ready to go. Yes.